Yeah, and also, going back to, the existing model that I talked about in carbon and the model that we're bringing on from Hedera, if we want to bring the world's land basically into the carbon economy. We want to bring the world's land basically into the carbon economy. And what I mean by that is if you're a rice farmer in India, you're not going to pay $100,000, okay, to get a project report in order to try to sell some credits, because what you're doing now is growing rice with a third less water, or so which is good for everybody. So you need to be able to participate into that in this world, but you need to be able, and the only way they can participate in this world is if technology is built that massively reduces cost and puts the cost burden somewhere else, and that's really where we've been focusing very, very hard, is in ways and tools to make that happen so that everybody can participate in this economy, not just sort of Bill Gates in the farmer in America. And it's really important that happens. There's biochar, there's kelp in the ocean, there's recycling of plastic, there's also there are literally thousands of different methodologies being created. And again, by leveraging Hedera and the work that we're doing, we're enabling, it's a combination of AI and the stuff that we've been building, you to very quickly spin up a workflow, spin up a methodology, publish it, and then sort of earn every time it's used.
What is good, y'all? What is good? Thanks for tuning in and welcome back to another episode. And you see the thumbnail, you already know we back to talk some Dovu in this one. But before we get started, big shout out to the Patreon. Being able to talk to other people about how this new economy is playing out in our lives every single day is extremely valuable. Or you can consider becoming a YouTube channel member where you can pick yourself up a copy of the Focus Monthly every single month. And lastly, I know you hear about everybody jumping in on Perp futures trading. Well, BTCC QR code on the screen help you save yourself some ducats on the fees. And let's go ahead and get into Dovu, crypto's most hidden science. As the weather patterns continue to rapidly change and every version of every storm is brewing everywhere you look, the sustainability conversation is fast approaching. Some crypto projects in this space have managed to build out connections that cross borders and opinions. You are now tuned in to ShookFocuz, and it is time.
Previously on ShookFocuz.
In our case, it's partnerships that can deliver millions of tons of carbon onto our platform. And millions of tons of carbon onto our platform equals millions of Dovu tokens that need to accompany those tons of carbon.
There are some corporations that have been preparing for this ahead of time and planning for the offsets to their emissions. Starting in 2028, ships will either have to shift to lower emission fuels or pay a fee for the pollution they generate. Dovu, of course, is known for working with the Indian government, most notable on MMCM, the vehicle recycling, but the door was left open for future collaborations.
Actually, just before coming on this call, we just agreed our biggest ever deal. It's taken us sort of 2 years to sort of go through, and it is a tens of $1 million deal for Dovu.
It's time to shake the focus up. Sick of being sick and tired. Tell me if you had enough. Yeah, it's Shooks in the building now. We ain't missing nothing. We gon' catch you if they got a rough.
Dovu. It's definitely been a while, but make no mistake, I'm always watching this one. And if you understand how the ecosystem it sits in works now, then you might also know how underplayed this announcement was. Savimbo becomes first certified under Cerro Carbono Biodiversity Certification Program. The credits are now available for international trade. Delivered by the Savimbo Biodiversity Putumayo project in the Colombian Amazon, and we already know there's a bunch of big companies working and buying credits out of the Amazon, check the previous videos. Says here that they are protecting 3,185 hectares of primary rainforest, which is equivalent to 7,865-ish acres, or about 6,000 football fields. That's a nice stat, but let's go to the Dovu marketplace real quick. For those unfamiliar with Savimbo, you can find some more details about the project over here on the marketplace, as well as some of the credits. And looking at the site, they still show as pre-order, but with this certification, I expect they will start showing up for those who purchase. And notice it says they have or had a stock of 400,000 credits from a 76,500 hectare collective. That's a lot more land than mentioned in the article. That's actually over 189,000 acres for those of us who don't use the metric system. But land aside, again, what catches my attention even more was the 400,000 credits. And let's just say that since they haven't been available yet, one might assume that these credits have not been minted, and I suspect those will be minted on Hbar by way of Dovu. And we know what it requires to do that if you've been following this Dovu content. And if you're in the Patreon, you should definitely know. But back to the article here, we get a quick description of the difference between the biodiversity credits and the carbon credits. Biodiversity credits create direct economic incentives to protect, restore, and sustainably manage ecosystems, unlike carbon credits, which measure greenhouse gas reductions. Biodiversity credits reward verified ecological outcomes such as species conservation, habitat integrity, and ecosystem resilience. Now, before we move on to the next topic, Dovu does have another biodiversity project listed, but they're doing something totally different. Instead of trying to read that to you, I'm going to instead insert a shout out here to the Hbar bull, because he pretty much covers all things Hbar and provides the content for the community to share. And that's really dope of him to do.
Everybody is cutting down the forest, and we're coming with the opposite thing, putting the forest back again. We began to study tree species that better suits the places, because they use a lot of agrochemicals like glyphosate, for example. And they will spread those chemicals with an aeroplane or with drones, and the wind will take those chemicals to the fields around, or even to towns nearby. So we had to find a tree species that could hold the chemicals. By trial and error, we found a way to make this windbreaks in a very scientific way. So we don't just plant random trees, we know which species to plant. We do a lot of land analysis. We do a lot of experiments over there with different universities. So we have a very professional operation nowadays. We are doing this like 25 years, so we have a lot of practice in this. Places where you have the windbreakers, they tend to have a better water cycle, so it's very stable. If you have droughts, then the trees will provide humidity to the place. If you have a lot of rain, then the trees will absorb the water in excess. So they have a more smooth farming operation over there. Wind erosion has minimized, so now they have more land for agriculture. As they have more land and more yields, they put less pressure on natural forests, so they need to cut less. Farmers, they thought that trees were their enemies because they take out land for their crops. Now they view the trees as their friends, because there's an impact to society as well. Families now are earning more because of this. So basically what we have done is we have found an equilibrium between the forest and human activity, where everybody in the chain wins money. Okay, that's very important. Everybody wins money, from the people that get the seeds from the field, to the people that grow the seedlings, to the people that plant the trees, to the people that take care of the trees, the farmer that provides us land to put the trees on it. You know, everybody wins from this. That means that the trees are very well cared of.
So, in short, replanting trees that sort of inherently increase growing conditions. A similar byproduct to the undo credits, but it's a different science. And he mentioned the financial incentives, which put this in the category of refi. I'm sure you've heard that term by now. And if you caught the last video, combined with what he just described there, again, to me, this fits right into the projection of sectors that are set to receive heavy investments, according to Larry Fink, who is now the interim co-chair of the World Economic Forum. His leadership is expected to guide the World Economic Forum through upcoming discussions that will focus on crucial challenges such as climate change, inequality, and the future of work.
I don't believe we need another food delivery company. I don't believe we need where all this money was going to go. I actually believe where more and more venture capital money is going to be going, and more early investment is going to be fundamentally in decarbonization. It's going to be a different science. It's going to require really underwriting the science behind these entrepreneurs. I'm visiting young entrepreneurs who are trying to do, whether it's sequestration or a better way of improving farming by encoding seeds that already have the ability to create their own fertilizer, to reduce fertilizer. There are some amazing technologies that are being developed today. So I actually believe we're going to be seeing a transformation of where this money's going to go. It's not going to go to all this stuff that maybe provided us good utility to get food quicker, or find a taxi sooner. But I actually believe it's going to be much more in hard science, and it's going to require a lot more technical understanding.
Dovu has had so many updates that if we haven't by the time you hear this, we're going to need to do another live stream. But also, something we don't do a whole lot with Dovu is talk about some of these connections. And with everything starting to sort of shape up now, I think it's definitely time that we revisit these connections. Oh yeah, you already know. It's time for the turn up. So we found some of the crossovers between what they're doing and the needs of Microsoft. And that Indian government connection is gonna pay dividends. Like, it gets downplayed so much, but the one the team has told us about several times, Tata, is one that I think we overlook just a bit too often. So originally, Dovu got funding from Jaguar Land Rover, which is owned by Tata. Fun fact, they acquired it from Ford in 2008. Now, that adventure didn't go exactly as planned and somehow ended with Dovu helping mint carbon credits for the country's new vehicle recycling program. How, you might ask? Because Tata is connected. It's not just some random car-owning company.
One of our, as I've mentioned earlier, one of our investors, early investors, Jaguar Land Rover, they're owned by Tata, and Tata are just a massive, conglomerate over in India. If anybody looks into them, you'll see the size of them. So we got introduced via Tata into a project that the Indian government were very sort of passionate about. So I think there were 18 million cars that they wanted to get off the road and processed through approved government recycling centres. We were able then to track, as when a car was brought into the recycling centre, we were able to do an analysis, with their help as to what vehicle it is, what each component within the vehicle, because there are hundreds of different little bits within a car, extract the bits that are like copper and other sort of, rare materials really that would be where you could count the carbon avoidance.
Tata Group has a net worth of $365 billion. Check the breakdown. Consulting business, $165 billion. Motors, $40 billion. Steel company, $30 billion. Titan Jewelry and Accessories, $35 billion. They empower too. Are you kidding me? Another $15 billion. And I guess the list got too long, but another random $80 billion. Just dripping with money. Like, I didn't think we was gonna have to turn up on a Dovu video, man. Check the moves. Motor company, clean energy. They were the first to introduce hybrid buses for public transportation over there. And Jaguar Land Rover, the original investor in Dovu, along with the UK government, story for another day, just rolled out a renewable energy strategy, a solar farm the size of 36 football fields. The 26-hectare, 18-megawatt facility will supply up to 31% of the site's energy requirements, marking the completion of the first of its 3 UK solar energy projects. Alongside the development, JLR has advanced its biodiversity efforts by planting native wildflowers beneath and between the ground-mounted panels. That sounds like a keyword alert to me.
You talk about how several organizations are using Hbar network to improve their businesses. Can you elaborate on a project or two who utilize your network to accomplish daily or commercial activities?
Thank you, Chairman, for this question. I included a few use cases in the testimony. One was Dovu, which allows farmers to tokenize the work that they're doing. So let's say they have a regular crop and they plant additional flowers around the edge that has different environmental benefits and carbon benefits. They can tokenize that and sell it as an offset.
We also got the Tata Power Clean Energy Project, 2030 commitment targets, and net zero ambitions. But hold on. We don't want to turn up too much. Let's bring it down a little bit. The Tata Group is actually owned by Tata Sons, which is basically a family trust. Yes, a family-owned $365 billion conglomerate. And again, a key detail that I think helps Dovu with Tata helping them get their foot in the door with the Hbar Governing Council is Irfan already having that corporate experience. Don't forget, he previously had a leadership role with Dell. And with what we've seen from him so far, this conversation is easy work. Easy work. But as we get ready to wrap this thing, I just wanted to point out that with Dovu, it's not just about the carbon credits. We can see how what's being built fits into almost all angles of the sustainability front. What they are truly aiming for is the trust. Until next time, don't get shook. Stay focused. And I'm out. Said Dovu is about to change the game. First mover advantage with a foot on the neck of this industry. And at this price, we can all stack a few million of these. I think I saw someone say that only 10,000 people can own 1 million of these or something like that.
I mean, we're our own worst enemy, our industry, because it's of course it's about shilling the token, it's about number go up, it's all those other bits, and of course the underlying element that enables that to happen is decentralized finance, which is fantastic.
Yep.
Which is the underlying technology. But we've done a pretty poor job of demonstrating to the world that the technology actually can be used, for other things. And that's really where Dovu's been focused on, is to say, look, let's just, be aware of the noise. Of course, we have a token, of course, so I'm very aware of the noise, but keep focused on building something that is of value, because then the very nature, if that token is a utility token and forms part of that infrastructure, the token's going to be doing just fine. Don't worry about that. Or if that token is a utility token and forms part of that infrastructure, the token's going to be doing just fine. Don't worry about that. And because the underlying business is going to be doing just fine as well. But again, going back to what we were talking about earlier about building something that makes sense in the future. In the future, it won't be humans making these decisions as to what they're buying and selling, so you need to make these credits searchable and, of course, digital and made available to robots and AI. And you need to make them available for point of sale systems, so that actually when you go to the coffee shop and you buy your coffee, it's just automatically offset. It's part of that sort of transaction.
Don't do it. Don't do it. Yep, now you need more cheese. What's up? Now you need more cheese. Now you gotta...
What's up? Now you need more cheese.